Hare Krishna. So, I recently saw the movie Obsession. And it's one of those movies that I've just been thinking about on and off, not totally obsessed with it, but it makes you think. It makes you really dive into dating culture, makes you think about codependency and many other psychological aspects of humanity. And thinking about this movie and how it was very an intense experience, there is an aspect that I want to dive into. So, thinking about the cultural impact of this film, right? It has a $750,000 budget and went on to make over $300 million. So it's having a cultural impact. And again, there are many ways to think about this film, but for me, it definitely touched upon that topic of love. So, in summary, the story is about a young man named Bear, and this young man is in love with a young woman named Nikki. And what happens is that he is unable to express his emotions and feelings to Nikki, which leads him to making a wish. He goes to this new age spiritual store where there's this object that's like a wishbone, and you break it and you make a wish, and this wish becomes fruitful. He is wishing that Nikki will love him more than anyone else in the world. And what happens after this is a horror movie about that wish going very, very wrong. So I don't want to give too much away, but there's an interesting aspect that I've been thinking about. In the very beginning of the film, we see Bear in a diner, and his friend Ian is trying to help him express his feelings to Nikki, to a waitress. And what Bear reveals about his own understanding of love is quite interesting for the rest of the movie. What we hear Bear say about Nikki, I see you in every song, I see you everywhere, and he is obsessed with Nikki. And what he's trying to express is a very interesting understanding of love. It's one-sided. It's not about relationship. It's not about mutual respect. It's not about serving each other in any way. It's about being obsessed with somebody in a very wrong way. And so his wish about love, Nikki loving him, is his idea of what love is. And I think that this is why this movie is having a cultural impact, especially on young people, is because we are living in a society that really doesn't know how to love. Even the term love, right? We are very restricted in our understanding of love because we just use this term love, but in different cultures, you have different words that mean different kinds of love, right? When we think about brotherly love, friendly love, agape, prema, bhakti, love of God, love that's transcendent. And so just in our society, we don't really understand what it means to really love another person in a selfless way. Parents can kind of come into understanding a little bit of that in terms of trying to serve the child in a selfless way, but even that is mixed with a little bit of selfishness. This false ego that we have, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the one who should be pleased, I'm the one who should be gratified, everyone else is here to serve my needs, is the society that we live in. And so, even in spiritual life, something that's very interesting in the movie we see is that Nikki is essentially possessed by this idea of love that Bear has. She's unable to be herself. There's very intense parts of the film where Nikki is trying to essentially come out and try to be herself, but then she's repossessed by this concept of love, and she's losing her individuality. Even at the end, we see Nikki putting on makeup and trying to be Sarah, who she thinks Bear is either attracted to or wants a relationship with, and she even tries to essentially become Sarah towards the end of the film, again, furthering herself from her own individuality. So even in spiritual life, what happens is that certain people have an idea that for me to be spiritual means that I lose my individuality. There are paths where you either want to merge into God or become nothing. And this is actually against bhakti. This is against love of God because it does away with any type of relationship. And there's also a lot of spiritual bypassing and shadow work that is not able to be done when essentially you're trying to get rid of your individuality. There's the false ego, and then there's the true ego. And what bhakti does, what Krishna consciousness does, is it actually sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatpadatvena nirmalam. It breaks down all these upadis, these false designations of who I think I am, who I don't think I am, all of the shadow that keeps us from being our true self, the false ego. Bhakti purifies ourselves so that we can actually be our true individual self in its pure form, not do away with the individuality. So there's the false ego and then there's the real ego. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. When one chants the holy names of God, it cleanses the consciousness, doing away with this false ego and revealing our true individuality so that we can have a deeper understanding of our relationship with the divine. So this film really got me thinking about what is love and how, because we're not able to even love each other in a proper way, we then bring that into spiritual life and are not able to have proper love of God. We have all these misunderstandings of what love of God is. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita tells us how to properly love him. Even I want to read here in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, Paul says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So, again, in spiritual life, we can have mystic powers. We can have the ability to fast and have out of body experiences and so many different experiences of spiritual life. But if there's not mercy, if there's not compassion, if there's not love, how fruitful is it actually in bringing us closer to God, who is love? So these are some thoughts about the movie Obsession. Hope you find them a little interesting and hope to maybe hear more about this. If you have any thoughts, please comment below, and hope you enjoyed the discussion. Hare Krishna.